It's Big 12 Radio, Big 12 Today, heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios, along with James Westling and Amari Temkin. Let's talk a little Houston basketball now with Joseph Duarte from the Houston Chronicle. Joseph, how are you?
Hey, good morning, guys. Hey, first, can we just talk about what you guys are doing to my guy Taman? I mean, you got the guy sitting up in the dark at what, 5 a.m., 5:30 a.m.? I mean, come on, guys. Y'all got to help him out.
Where are you? Are you watching us, Joseph? How did you know?
I got eyes everywhere.
You do, apparently. And yeah, we did. We actually requested they turn the lights off for Taman. The lights were on. We got here at 5:30. Well, I say we. James got here at 6:30, but we got here at 5:30, and the lights were on, and we're like, you know what? Would you mind turning them off? We want Taman to really have to work.
He operates better in the dark.
I mean, he was stumbling here, there, bumping into things. My guy needs hazard pay.
He can barely see with the lights on. Can we put some lights on for Taman?
Good morning, guys.
Morning.
How you doing?
We're great, man, and really excited for this Houston BYU matchup. But maybe more so because it's crazy, Joseph, like to think about the difference a year makes for this team with there's some different personnel, but I mean, virtually the same team that played for the national championship last year, that was in position to win the national championship last year, returns key players, and yet this season has just been so dramatically different from last season.
It has, and I think a lot has to do with the, even though you didn't have a lot of holes to fill, the ones that you did were so important. And, the front court has been, sort of an issue this year. And because, you lose an experienced 6-year guy like a Jawan Roberts, and then you had Javier Francis. I mean, those two were keys. Now, JoJo Tugler's no slouch, but, they haven't had him on the floor at times this year because of foul trouble. So that changes how they do things. And Jawan just had a different way of being able to, a lot of what they did went through him. So, I mean, he had that experience factor. And then you throw in a couple of freshmen with Chris Sanak Jr. and Kingston Flemings. And oh, by the way, LJ Cryer could light it up at any moment. Those are just things that they don't necessarily have this year. It doesn't make them a worse team. They're just not, as I guess maybe the total package as they were, but it's still a team that, come Selection Sunday here, probably a number 2 seed, and depending on how the first game goes against BYU, they could, have another run where they might get Kansas and Arizona heading into Saturday's final if they get that far.
Joe, this uptick in Chase McCarty's playing time and then production in the regular season finale against Oklahoma State, has that been a byproduct of his health, that he's finally healthy, or is it more than that in terms of him starting to do the things that Kelvin Sampson requires to be on the floor?
I think it's the latter because, when they signed him, all you heard about was this kid's potential shooting-wise. I mean, they thought that he could be another great perimeter guy for them, and it's just been, he sat last year, didn't play at all during the title run. It was a redshirt year. And then coming in this year, the first thing that's going to happen is to get on the floor, you've got to prove yourself defensively. And that's sort of and you look at who he was behind. So he works on that. The rebounding was really, I think, the catalyst as well to get him on the court. And then they found a way. I think Isaiah Harwell being injured and maybe not playing where they thought he might be was another way for Chase to get in. Him and Mercy Miller had kind of been getting those minutes off the bench. So yeah, I mean, coming in, this is where they hoped he would be, and that wrist, it's the non-shooting hand, it's the left hand for him, still bothers him. Something that he's just going to have to fight through. I think there's still some significant pain. He's just grinding through it, but it's more what he's done on the court to earn that extra playing time.
Joseph, I get the sense here like Houston has not played as good as they can. Like, we haven't seen the best of Houston basketball this year yet.
I think that's fair, and they've actually said that recently, that they don't feel like it's cliche-ish, but the full 40 minutes hasn't been there yet. And, that's, in a way, it's scary when you look at, Kelvin has repeatedly said the last week about how he feels and how proud he is of a team that had a lot of changes from a year ago, but still won 26 games. I believe they ended the regular season last year with maybe 28, maybe 29 wins. So they're not far off. I mean, this is not a step back season. They're very much in the conversation, and you look at the the way the Big 12 was, and it's much tougher top to bottom. I think 14-4, and those four losses, being ranked losses. That yeah, I mean they had a good year. A lot of teams will take that year that they had, uh, considering what they lost.
Joseph, when it comes to the matchup today, Houston and BYU, like Houston has had their way with BYU the few times that they've met since joining the Big 12. And I remember the Houston BYU game here in Kansas City last year. So why is that?
I'm glad you remember that one because man, my mind is foggy. Maybe it's just the age difference here. The one in Provo was pretty competitive for a while. Second half, Houston does what they do, and they end up kind of grinding you down. But BYU also had Richie Saunders in that game, so there's some difference there. But yeah, I mean, I go back a little bit further. The first loss I believe ever in Fertitta Center was to BYU, and that was when they weren't in the same conference. So
Wow.
BYU's had some success, but yeah, recently, yeah, Houston, whether it was the semifinals last year or this year, has just played well. They know uh, what's coming at them with Devanza tonight, and you look at how Kennard had a really good game last night, and Kevin Young even mentioned after the game that this is a Houston team that you sort of have to get up for because of the physical nature. But BYU was very much in that game in Provo. They missed quite a few free throws, I believe, and that kind of Houston ended up winning by about 10, I believe. So yeah, it's just you get a team like that sometimes where you have some success. They've had it against Baylor since they joined the Big 12, West Virginia. So. Maybe it's just the way chips have fallen, but I think this one will be a really good game tonight because one of the best players in the country is on the floor for BYU.
I think it's there's something deeper there. I think it's Houston's physicality, and BYU is kind of the opposite, Joseph. I think that game in Provo was close, but down the stretch, Houston just out physicaled them. They realized they were Houston. I just think culturally, these are two different teams.
Right.
Houston is physical. They get off the bus as a physical team. BYU is more finesse, and so I think structurally there is a distinction between these two programs in that, for Kevin Young, who I think is a really good coach, he's got to get more Kebaketas. He's got to get more physical players on defense, on rebounding, not only to match with Houston, to match the physicality of the Big 12, but to have a team that can make a deep run in March.
No, you're right, and for those of us in Houston, that sort of becomes the same old storyline about the physical part of it. So it maybe when you see them, you're like, yeah, that's. But we see that all the time. You could sort of insert team on that line, any team, because that's what Houston does. But you're right on the physical part. There were some times down the stretch there. I remember Khalifa Sacco had a huge offensive rebound and a putback that gave them the lead in that game in Provo late. And I think they had one possession where they had two or three more offensive rebounds. So they find a way. It is a matter of they are going to punish you at times on the floor with the way they play. So yeah, I mean that's just Houston. That's the identity. That's the DNA that Kelvin's had there for many years, and it just goes from team to team. It's not necessarily
right.
what you do against BYU. They do that against everybody.
In terms of Houston big picture, is it pretty well known that Houston's locked in to a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament? Do you see them getting the South region, which means they'd play in their own backyard? I think it would be tough for Houston, even if they win the Big 12 tournament, to jump up onto that one line. So what are your thoughts there?
No, I think you're right on the one line. Now some things could happen. I think most believe at this point, Florida is going to move into that one unless something happens, in the next few days. I do see Houston as a two, and it's going to come down to the Midwest or the South region. And we talked to the selection chair yesterday, Keith Gill, and he mentioned the protocols and the procedures. Didn't give a lot of insight, but the fact that Houston gave up the host responsibilities for that game at the Toyota Center, which by the way is only about 2.1 miles from campus. They set themselves up now to get in. I don't think it necessarily matters. Just as long as you don't lose tonight, I think you're in a good position where the committee is going to eventually weigh between Houston and UConn for that two. So you could have Florida as a one and UConn as a two, or swap them in the South, or vice versa with Michigan in the Midwest. But this is rare. It's never or very few times been done. I can think of a few second weekend type situations, but man, it's a difference if you're Purdue going to Indianapolis. That's still 70 miles or so. I mean, this is right there in the heart of Houston. And if you have the home team there, that's quite a home court advantage.
Yeah, it would almost like penalize whoever the one seed is in that region. And then if they get sent to the Midwest, where is that region?
That's in Chicago. That's at the United Center.
That's a big difference.
If I'm UConn or Florida and I'm the one, I mean, I'm going crazy. I mean, I'm probably screaming because it neutralizes your one seed.
Right.
I mean, for Houston, you just want to get into that regional because if they're not going to fall below a two, but even if they were a three, you just have to get in there, and then that changes the dynamics of everything. Now, given a few years ago, the Final Four was in Houston, and they were a one seed, so it got played up a lot about getting to play in a hometown Final Four, and they ended up getting upset, I believe, by Miami here in Kansas City. So things happen, but it would be quite the storyline if on Selection Sunday they put Houston in the South region.
It has happened to Kansas. Kansas was the one seed with UCLA as the two, and they played in San Jose in the Elite Eight. It happens. The ironic, maybe not ironic, but the odd factor here is Florida beat Houston in San Antonio last year. So it'd be the second time Florida would have to beat Houston in Texas. Obviously, 2.1 miles is closer than the 110 miles San Antonio is from Houston. But still, it would just be sort of an interesting coincidence that you get two matchups both in Texas in 2 years.
And I think that's where the committee will lean because they like rematches. I mean, they like those types of storylines.
Totally.
So I could see Houston, and if not, you got all 7 of their Final Fours, by the way, that they've made in school history have come out of the Midwest region. So there's not a bad silver lining there if you have to go through Chicago.
Yeah, and I think like Illinois is a 2 seed. I mean, they probably want the one. So it could be in some ways similar situations. I mean, Michigan and Illinois in the Midwest would make sense, and that'd be a really interesting dynamic.
Well, what happens there, and that's why it's sort of down to the Midwest or the South, you can't have the same conference have the top 2 seeds.
Got it. So
for Illinois, even Michigan State, that sort of means they're going west or east, and you have the other two number two right now, like a UConn or Houston, that would have to fill those spots. So there's a lot of maneuvering that has to go around based on conference affiliation. So that's kind of why, the early reveal, Houston was the 2 in the Midwest. Those typically hold, but they sometimes do some flipping with regions for the final bracket.
Joseph, you're the best. We'll see you here soon.
Thank you, guys. Be sure to keep those lights on.
Joseph Duarte, Houston Chronicle. We'll visit with him again throughout this tournament. James Westling, Ari Tepkin, Big 12 Today, Big 12 Radio. Modelo fan rule number 25. Tournament week is a lifestyle, not a viewing option. It is a lifestyle, and today is very much a lifestyle day. This is a pack it in. Nobody has to work today, right? I mean, come on. It's a Thursday, and we've got 4 fantastic matchups in the Big 12 starting at 11:30. So in terms of it being a lifestyle, like grab a 24 Modelo, get good food. Like, that's the lifestyle part of this. This isn't just turning on games and watching them. This is like planning for what I'm going to wear, where I'm going to be sitting, what I'm going to be eating, and of course, Modelo is the only choice for beverage options.
And for the fans that are here in Kansas City, so many great eats, so many great places you can grab a Modelo within walking distance of the T-Mobile Center, which is just an incredible setup. And then excited about the Big 12, but also a ton of mid-major conference championships are later today or tonight. We saw Idaho beat, was it Montana or Montana State last night?
Montana.
They went 500 in their league, and they're going to be in the NCAA tournament. Like, those are the stories that are developing here this week.
All right, let's get into some of those really cool mid-major conference champions, including Idaho, which may be the biggest upset of all of them. Plus, the Big Ten wants a change to the tampering rule. All down the way next. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. We are presented by Modelo, heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios.